Hello amigos, it's Jenkins here, and I am bringing you another Dota 2 video on behalf of DotaAlchemy.com. Another Chongqing Major analysis. We're going to be looking at Team Liquid versus Vega Squadron. In particular, we're going to be looking at Miracle's player perspective. He played Anti Mage, and he basically solo carried his team in this game. Without a Battle Fury, I might add. So I thought this game was really interesting. I took a bunch of notes during the game, and I just want to cover some cool things that Miracle did during this game. So anyway, let's watch the replay. As for Miracle's starting build this game, he went for 6 Tangos, 1 Stout Shield, and then 4 Iron Branches. I think the big reason that he went for all of these stat items is the fact that they give him base damage, which is going to increase with this 20% base damage increase on Empower. So that's just a little bit more efficient than maybe going for some sort of damage items like Fairy Fires, and you could argue that maybe go for Slippers of Agility because you're spending 135 instead of 150 for 3 Iron Branches. You get the same agility, but the thing is, in this lane, he actually put down every single one of these Iron Branches and consumed them. So he's got effectively 4 extra tangos worth of regen. So this guy's sitting on about 10 tangos worth of regen, and it's going to benefit from this Empower. Considering he's against an Axe plus Coddle, I think he suspects that the Axe will probably be cutting the wave, and at the very least the Coddle will be blasting him in this lane. So he does need the regen, and having 10 tangos worth of regen is definitely very effective, especially when you also have that Empower and the base damage increase. So the way that Liquid plays this lane is they essentially have both of the supports up here tri-laning with Miracle. I think one of the larger reasons that Anti Mage fell off was these aggressive dual lanes that are very, very difficult to deal with. I think in this current patch, tri-lanes are definitely more effective. We see a lot more people tri-laning, probably as a relation to the map changes, to the fact that it's a lot more punishing if you die on heroes, like with the added respawn time and so forth. But in any case, even if that wasn't true, if you wanted to pick Anti Mage with the skill buff that he got to his spell shield, you would probably want to throw him in a tri-lane just because that's where he is very successful traditionally, historically. And the way that they play it is they essentially have the Liquid supports just over here messing with the lane opponents, like screwing with the Coddle who was here, screwing with the Rubik, and it's not even about like killing these guys or pressuring these guys so that they don't farm. It's just about getting the Anti-Mage farm. And all Miracle is doing during this entire period is he's just abusing lane mechanics. Like we saw him earlier into this clip, he was pulling creeps into the tower using the right-click trick off of the Axe. He wasn't really looking to pressure. Like, this isn't a tri-lane that's looking to get kills. This is just a tri-lane that's looking to get Anti-Mage very farmed. And I think given that they last picked the Anti-Mage, they think that he can 1v5 this game. That's why they picked it. So as long as they're getting him farm, they're okay with this, even if the Axe is getting very farmed. And we can see if we look at the last hits and denies, Anti Mage is actually top of CS, and Axe is doing okay, but Anti Mage is doing better. So Miracle is just basically laning on his own, and that's just because he has 2 supports up here helping him. Once it gets kind of hard to lane against the Axe, and once he has 3 Wraith Bands, Miracle looks to jungle with the Empower. As a result of this, I think arguably more importantly, Magnus is able to walk toward the top lane and just get some experience. One of the issues with picking a mag support is that the hero does demand a lot of levels, and you kind of want a Blink Dagger on him at some point in the game so you can hit those RPs. But there's no point really in Miracle sitting up here and laning against this Axe when Magnus can lane up here just fine, get experience, like we talked about, he needs that. And then Miracle with the Empower is going to be perfectly comfortable just jungling, as well as these 3 Wraith Bands plus Power Treads. Like, these items are just so excellent at accelerating your farm. We see almost every single carry in this game going for 3 Wraith Bands, sometimes Yasha, Treads, and then even after that picking up a Battle Fury or something like that. In this game, Anti Mage doesn't pick up a Battle Fury, but I've seen that build into Battle Fury. Morphlings even go for Yashas. It just seems like if you want to play carry in this patch, 3 Wraith Bands into Yasha with Treads is absolutely your build to go for. So instead of building into the Yasha, Miracle gets a Vlad's. I think this is a lot better than the Yasha in this particular situation, just because he's looking to fight with his team. They're all these kind of like melee, will benefit from the lifesteal from Vlad's heroes and from the armor that comes from Vlad's as well. Like, they're essentially looking to potentially fight a little bit more. That is one thing that Miracle does a lot differently from a lot of other anti-mages that you might see in pubs or even in competitive, is he will absolutely show up to fights as long as he knows he can like jump in, get a kill in the fight, jump out. Like, as you can see, like, he goes to this top lane, he breaks the Axe's TP, just bullies him a little bit. I don't even know if he's like looking to necessarily kill him. He's just trying to be an asshole. Like, Miracle has this focus when he's playing Anti Mage on also contributing while playing this like heavy farming, comes online and just 1v5s here. Like, he's not just trying to be that superstar of the show in the late game when he has his items. He's also looking to contribute. And I think that's why he also goes for the Vlads. But with the Wraith Band build, he's got 8 agility from each of these Wraith Bands. He's got extra attack speed. He gets 12 of whatever attribute, which he's on agility. So that is going to add to his base damage, which is going to benefit, obviously, from that bonus attack damage increase. So he's got plus 36 damage because of this Vlad's. This Vlad's also allows him to run through the jungle and sit at 100% HP, and the reason that that's important is because if he's at 100% HP and not 60%, 70%, then he's a lot less gankable. He knows the enemy team is very active, and then it also allows him to be active as well. If he's at 67%, 70% HP, and he goes into these fights, it's a lot more likely that the enemy team is going to try and kill him. Like, you can see there, if he was sitting at 60% HP, he probably would have been 10% HP when that gank ends, and that's obviously a lot more dangerous than hit the HP threshold that he's at right now. So this might be considered pretty typical anti-mage stuff, but I still found it somewhat interesting, and it's just this fact that Miracle, instead of just looking to like run into fights ballsy as hell and 5v5, even though he's got these fighting items and no battle fury, what he looks to do is he abuses the fact that he's such a mobile hero, and he plays the enemy side of the map, and most importantly, his camera is very rarely on his hero. Like, he's constantly looking to see what's happening elsewhere while pressuring the opposing side of the map. And I think what that indicates is just this fact that his idea of pressuring the enemy side of the map is not to farm, it's not to be greedy, it's to force his opponents back and force his opponents out of position. So essentially he's still contributing to his team by farming these lane creeps and by pushing towers. He's not just like sacking his team, sacking his towers for no reason. He's doing this so the enemy team backs off, and then he's able to get a pick on this Shadow Fiend because this Naix has backed off, and his whole team has also backed off around him. So essentially, playing like this is allowing him to get his team pickoffs, and I think one of the most important things about how he does it is he is constantly pressuring the opposing side, but he has his camera on his side of the map with his team. It's almost as if he's there in spirit. So as we saw in the previous clip at the end there, Miracle picks up a double damage, Kuroki smokes him into the Roche Pit, and with this Sange and Yasha, plus the stat items that he has, plus the levels that he has, plus the Vlad's lifesteal, he's actually able to solo Roche, which is something you probably couldn't do with the Battle Fury Anti-Mage. This was really cool to me, and this kind of blew the game wide open. Even with the Aegis, he still was kind of playing on the opposing side of the map a little bit, and then looking with his camera to see like if the enemy team was splitting up because of him, and basically like picking and choosing when to take fights and only taking fights when it really looks good. And I think that's one of the most important things about Miracle's anti-mage, that this guy is really opportunistic. Like, he picks up a double damage rune, as a result smokes into Roche. He pushes the enemy side of the map. As a result of people TPing back, he TPs back, gets a kill. Like, he's not just hitting jungle creeps. He's actually looking to absolutely optimize like what he can get from this game, and especially if it's going to be like something that's going to give him a strategic better position on the map. His team is strategically better position on the map, as opposed to just like looking to steal kills and farm and stuff like that. It's more so about like he wants to keep his team alive until the late game. So that way he can come online. So he's kind of like it's kind of like not 4 protect 1, it's like 5 protect 1. He's protecting himself by actually playing and contributing. So the subject of when to actually take a fight is certainly one of the more confusing and complicated issues when it comes to anti-mage. Like I said, Miracle is opportunistic, so he is looking to just go to fights that look really, really good, but that's not like looking to fight. That just happens that the enemy team screws up and gives him a good fight to take. So like, when do you actually look to, okay, I'm strong, we 5v5? And it looks like in this game, Miracle decided that it is going to be as soon as he picks up this Abyssal Blade. We can see that there's a complete 180 in how he plays the game as soon as he picks up the Abyssal Blade. He's not pushing any other lanes, he's not hitting creeps. The entire game he's been incredibly efficient with his farming patterns, and as soon as he picks up the Abyssal, it's the complete polar opposite. He's just with his team, he's just looking to fight, he's just looking to get a pick off at the start of the fight with that Abyssal, make it a 4v5, especially because it's the Abyssal Blade reveal, and we can see here that he pings that the Coddle is somewhere up here in the top line. He doesn't even know where the rest of the team is. It's just like, I want to fight right now, I know that we're strong. He does a really good job in these fights avoiding the axe, and you can see that he keeps his camera almost entirely on this Coddle. Like, he doesn't just go on the first target that he sees. He hits the Lifestealer a little bit, but the moment the Rubik comes in the fight, he goes onto the Rubik. And now that the Rubik and the Coddle are dead, that's like all of their disable, other than the axe, who just died on the side there. But the axe was getting very, very kited and zoned, so which presumably is like the way these guys wanted to take team fights. It's just they said, okay, we know the axe is going to be an issue for the Anti Mage, especially if he has a blade mail, which he does, so we just need the Monkey King and the supports to deal with the axe, and then Miracle's job is to kill everybody else. And with the Abyssal Blade, he actually can kill everybody else. So I thought that was like, what are these items dropping? What's happening? But in any case, like, this the way that they took that fight is really, really important to me. He didn't just go on the first target that he saw. You can see that every time he had an opportunity to go on the support, he would ignore everybody else and go for them, because if they're dead, well, number one, they're really easy to kill, and then number two, they're incredibly important to the fight. Rubik has Lift, Rubik has the spell steal. He can steal the Magnus spells, and this Coddle, he's got the Will-O-Wisp, he's got the blind. Like, these heroes are extremely effective and very, very easy to kill for Miracle. He'll like 3-hit them, so he doesn't just focus onto the Nakes, but once they're dead, he can focus onto the Nakes, and throughout the whole fight, the axe is getting kited, so it's not an issue. With that ultra kill, the fights become a lot easier. We talked about Miracle being very opportunistic, and when you have a gold lead, when you know that you're strong, you've just gotten an ultra kill, you know that the opportunities are going to present themselves a lot more, because if the enemy team steps out of position for just a second, you feel strong enough to kill them. For example, up here, he does not care that there's an axe, he does not care that there is, you know, Coddle or whatever up here. None of that matters. All that matters is that he knows that he's strong, he knows that he just got an ultra kill, they have a gold lead now, and if that fight was easy, then every single fight from then onward is probably going to be easy, as long as they take the same approach to those fights. So I don't want to cover too much about how all these fights happen, just because it's very similar to those to the one that we just saw. Like, he essentially just has his team focus the heroes that could kill him, which is mainly the axe, and kite the Lifestealer as well, and then huge focus onto the supports in every single fight. That is essentially what happens, unless there's some opportunity that presents itself that's a lot better. For example, there was another fight that I saw where Monkey King had a really good zoning ulti. There was a bunch of heroes on the left of the ulti, and there was a high ground, and the Nakes was stuck on the high ground, so Miracle focused the Nakes in that fight, but exclusively because that opportunity presented itself, where he knew that the Nakes was totally boned in that scenario. So basically the rest of the game is relatively a stomp. They just take team fights until they win the game, and it's a pretty big Anti-Mage game, which is pretty impressive considering this guy had no Battle Fury, his team was getting obliterated, and he essentially 1v5'd.